From the earliest moment of life, an invisible current hums beneath our awareness. Not a being watching from above, but a resonance shaping everything we feel, think, and attract. What if the concept of God isn't a person, a figure, or an entity, but something far more subtle and powerful, a pulse, a signal, a precise energetic tone woven into the very nature of existence? For generations, those who understood this were silenced or ignored. The structures of control that shaped history knew that when people discover how reality truly functions, they no longer submit to fear, illness, or helplessness. And so, an unspoken agreement was enforced. Keep the truth obscured, keep the masses tuned into dissonance. What most consider anxiety, pain, or internal chaos is often just a symptom of being out of alignment, caught in a pattern of low disruptive resonance. These aren't random feelings. They're consequences of immersion in a field that dampens human potential, limits thought, and fuels dependence. But there has always been a hidden path, one passed down in silence across temples, texts, and traditions, not through dominance but through vibration. This isn't mysticism, it's mechanism. Reality itself responds to frequency like strings, on a violin reacting to a tuning fork. The right tone doesn't just soothe the mind, it shapes matter. Now imagine that knowledge returned to your hands. Imagine being able to consciously tune your state like an instrument, shifting not just your mood, but the world around you. That's the secret those in power hoped you'd never uncover. Because once you realize the field you're immersed in, you can also choose to change it. While most operate unknowingly inside artificial energetic cages, designed to maintain fear, illness, and limitation, others have broken through. Thinkers like Nikola Tesla and sages from long-forgotten civilizations didn't just stumble upon random insights. They tapped into the harmonic structure of the universe and bent reality by aligning with it. But this isn't about worshipping them. It's about decoding what they knew and, more importantly, applying it. If you feel like something fundamental has been hidden from you, it has, and not by accident. The story you're about to explore isn't fiction, philosophy, or fantasy. It's a return to what was always present, but intentionally drowned out. As you lean into this awareness, something begins to stir. A sense that life was never meant to be a sequence of chaotic events, but a dynamic song. And the moment you find your note, the entire composition begins to shift. What you call your life, the patterns, the relationships, the ups and downs, isn't as random as it seems. It's all tuned to a signal, not one you can see, but one you emit. The world doesn't just happen to you. It responds to the energetic rhythms you unconsciously project every single day. Your surroundings, your thoughts, your emotions, all of it carries resonance. And this resonance builds a field around you. When this field is chaotic, filled with stress, anger, or fear, it attracts experiences that mirror that exact same chaos. Not because life is punishing you, but because energy recognizes and reflects itself. Think about the places you spend time in, the conversations you have, the music you listen to, even the architecture around you. All of it influences your frequency, and small shifts, subtle changes in your environment or habits can start to move your resonance upward. A single symbol, a shape on the wall, the presence of a tree, each can recalibrate your state. Ancient cultures knew this well. From carved temples to ritual designs, from sound ceremonies to rhythmic dances, they didn't just honor life, they tuned into it. They understood that reality is not a fixed structure, but a field constantly shaped by vibrational input. They listened, not just with ears, but with presence, to the wind, to the stars, to the stillness between breaths. They saw meaning in every wave, every pulse, every rhythm of nature. And in doing so, they lived in sync with the unseen forces most now ignore. These traditions weren't superstition. They were sophisticated systems of energetic awareness. They perceived every being and object as carriers of distinct frequencies, each capable of influencing what we experience internally and externally. Today we've traded that sensitivity for noise, distraction, and artificial stimulation. But the knowledge is still there, waiting to be reactivated. Your reality is not a cage, it's a reflection. And by adjusting your inner signal, you don't just feel different, you begin to reshape the fabric of your life. Long before modern hospitals, there were spaces built not just for the body but for the soul's alignment. These were not filled with machines or medication, but with tones, chants, and rhythms that echoed through walls carved with precision. The ancients didn't separate healing from harmony. They believed the two were inseparable. In ancient Egypt, sacred sites were more than monuments. They were instruments, stone chambers perfectly tuned to resonate at specific pitches, amplified frequencies designed to align the human system with the rhythm of creation. Many of these structures still whisper at 432 Hz, a tone some believe connects mind, body, and cosmos. Civilizations that vanished left behind more than ruins. They left clues, not in writing but in sound, in the resonance of temples, in chants passed down orally, in instruments tuned not for performance but transformation. These weren't relics of superstition, they were blueprints for balance. But that wisdom didn't vanish. It was veiled, guarded by mystics in remote mountains, kept alive in the silence of forests, encoded in rituals few understood. It survived through whispers, through symbols, through those who understood that real power isn't loud. It vibrates quietly beneath everything. Today, that forgotten science is being remembered, not only by seekers and sages, but by physicists, neurologists, and sound engineers. What used to be considered spiritual is now entering laboratories. The language of energy, once mystical, is now being measured. And the results are staggering. Nikola Tesla once remarked that energy, vibration, and frequency are the keys to the universe. And those words weren't poetic, they were literal. Now practices like sound healing with singing bowls, mantras, and tonal music tuned to specific frequencies such as 528 Hz, the so-called love frequency, are showing tangible results. Not just for emotional balance, but for physical recovery and neurological repair. Clinics in Germany and other parts of the world are already using this approach. They're applying vibrational therapy not just as a supplement, but as a core method, influencing the nervous system, easing trauma, and restoring the body's rhythm. What was once considered fringe is proving itself on the front lines of modern care. And this is only the beginning. What if the link between intention and physical transformation isn't just philosophical but measurable? As science begins to probe what ancient cultures always sensed, a new understanding is emerging, one where frequency isn't symbolic but functional. And it's not just theory anymore, it's data. Water, one of life's foundational elements, has shown us this with clarity. Through the work of Dr. Masaru Emoto, we've seen how spoken words, emotional energy, and music can alter the molecular structure of water. Words like peace and gratitude form intricate, harmonious crystals. Hostile language breaks the symmetry. Since our bodies are mostly made of water, the implications are hard to ignore. This is not magic. It's resonance. It's the interaction between energy fields. When you emit a certain frequency, through thought, breath, or sound, your entire being responds. And reality begins to mirror those shifts. You're not just reacting to the world, you're shaping it. With consistent practices like breath awareness, gentle sound exposure, or even simply playing tonal music tuned to specific Hertz values, people report noticeable changes in how they feel, how they think, and what happens around them. And now, universities and research centers are paying attention. In Yale's labs, studies reveal that subtle mechanical vibrations can speed up bone regeneration. At MIT, low-frequency impulses have been shown to affect cancerous cells, disrupting their patterns without damaging nearby healthy tissue. Frequency isn't a metaphor, it's a treatment, one that targets the core of biological structure. Every cell has a unique vibrational signature. When out of sync, dis-ease can emerge, but when exposed to the precise frequency that matches its original state, balance can return. This concept, resonance therapy, is being tested in oncological settings. In one study, specific tones were used to destabilize cancer cells while sparing the surrounding tissue, using no chemicals, no incisions, only finely tuned sound. Devices now exist that harness these discoveries. Clinics are using technologies like pulsed electromagnetic field therapy, bioresonance tools, and sound-based healing systems to address insomnia, anxiety, pain, and even immune dysfunction. And what makes this approach different is not just its effectiveness, it's the absence of harm, no side effects, just realignment. The ancient belief that every thought, every emotion, every word sends out a ripple, that belief is being mapped with precision. Gratitude, compassion, joy, these aren't just good feelings, they are high-frequency states that directly influence your biology. Anger, guilt, shame, their lower tones generate friction, disorder, inflammation. So yes, listening to a certain piece of music might genuinely help repair your body. Yes, saying a mantra might regulate your nervous system. These aren't abstract rituals anymore. They are measurable tools. And science is finally catching up to what the ancients always knew. Healing doesn't always require a pill. Sometimes it only requires the right tone. Throughout history, knowledge has been hidden not in books but in silence. Passed through rituals, gestures, and frequencies only the attentive could sense. Today, that silence is speaking louder than ever. Beneath the surface of everyday life, something subtle yet powerful stirs, an inner technology that has always been part of us. Ancient societies didn't separate spirit from science. For them, energy wasn't abstract, it was practical. They carved geometry into temples not for beauty, but for balance. They aligned structures with celestial cycles to harmonize with universal rhythms. What we now call spirituality, they saw as navigation, a way to move through life in sync with the universe's deeper code. Shamans, monks, mystics, they weren't guessing, they were tuning. With sound, breath, movement, and intention, they activated states of clarity, healing, and insight. And while their tools looked different from today's, their understanding was astonishingly precise. Now science is catching up. New technologies are doing what once seemed impossible. Devices can track the body's energetic patterns, map emotional imprints, and even suggest corrective frequencies. Tools once imagined in spiritual traditions are now emerging as wearables, sensors, and sound platforms, merging the ancient with the digital. Heart coherence monitors detect emotional shifts in real time. Beds designed for vibrational therapy emit tones that help the body recover during sleep. Machines once used only by healers in remote cultures now appear in advanced clinics and labs. But here's the beauty. The goal isn't to replace intuition with hardware. It's to enhance it. Modern instruments are decoding what the ancients intuitively practiced. Instead of chanting in a forest, you might now use a guided frequency track. Instead of a sacred symbol drawn in the sand, it might be an app that reads your energy field and offers tonal recalibration. These tools are not the magic. You are. They're just bridges, reconnecting you to something timeless. Your ability to shift your internal frequency and change your external experience. Hospitals designed with natural light, calming acoustics, and sacred geometry principles aren't doing this for aesthetics. They're built to soothe the nervous system and stimulate healing, just like temples of the past. And it's not about rejecting medicine or worshipping machines. It's about integration, allowing science to respect what spirit always knew, that we are not just flesh and thought. We are signal, we are rhythm, we are instruments constantly, tuning to our environment. The most advanced technology has always been inside us. There's something deeply transformative about realizing that your emotions aren't just reactions. They're signals. You're constantly broadcasting information even when you say nothing. And just like a tuning dial on an old radio, your emotional state determines the quality of what you receive from the world. Some of the most unconventional voices of our time have shed light on this. One of them is Bashar, a non-physical consciousness channeled by Darrell Anchor. While controversial, to some the insights offered challenge conventional thinking in fascinating ways. According to Bashar, there's one emotion that carries a unique energetic signature: genuine excitement. Not surface-level thrill or instant gratification, but that deep, electrifying pull that tells you you're on the right path. He calls it a kind of navigational tool from your higher intelligence, a compass that points toward alignment. When you act on that feeling, no matter how small the impulse, you're tapping into a version of yourself that's in full harmony with your true frequency. Reality then starts flowing differently. It's not magic, it's coherence. On another end of the spectrum, but arriving at similar conclusions, is Dr. Ibrahim Karim, the visionary behind Biogeometry. His work explores how form, color, and proportion influence energy. From the shape of a room to the symbols on a wall, everything contributes to a field that affects the body and mind. Karim identified a specific resonance he calls the energy of balanced quality, a neutral force that can restore equilibrium when chaos takes over. Through simple geometric adjustments, entire environments can be brought into harmony. Homes, hospitals, even entire communities. And when surroundings shift, the people inside them do too. At the core of both Bashar's teachings and biogeometry lies a single profound idea. Life reflects what you vibrate. Think of a bad day. Irritation builds. Things go wrong. You feel off. That emotional frequency acts like a beacon, attracting more of the same. And the longer you stay in that zone, the more confirmation you get that life is hard or unfair. But shift something, anything. Recall a memory that sparks joy. Focus on something that inspires curiosity. Play music that awakens a sense of peace. Suddenly, everything begins to feel lighter. The atmosphere around you adjusts. That's not coincidence. That's frequency at work. According to Bashar, every time you follow real enthusiasm, even if it's baking, writing, cleaning, or having a meaningful conversation, you jump timelines. You move into a different stream of reality that responds to who you've become in that moment. You didn't just cheer up, you shifted your field entirely. Ancient traditions echo this truth. From chakra systems in India to sacred sounds in Sufi mysticism, emotions were always understood as powerful forces, not weaknesses but creative tools. They mold perception, they sculpt experience. The deeper question isn't what's happening to you, it's what you're radiating. What are you sending out? Because whatever it is, the universe is listening and responding with precision. Many believe emotions are personal, internal, like quiet storms that pass within and disappear. But that's far from the truth. Every emotional state you experience ripples outward, influencing not just your thoughts and actions, but also shaping the environment around you. Ancient wisdom traditions understood this long before psychology gave it names. In Indian philosophy, the chakras, energetic centers in the body, are associated with distinct tones. Each one connects to different aspects of life, from survival and desire to compassion and clarity. When these centers are blocked or misaligned, disharmony follows, not just in the body but in your life. Sufi teachings add another layer. They describe the heart as a mirror a surface that can reflect divine light or distort reality depending on how clean it is. Emotions in this sense are the Polish. Joy clears it, grief clouds it, anger scratches the surface. Everything you feel either brings you closer to clarity or pulls you into distortion. This isn't metaphorical, it's functional. The emotional frequencies you carry literally condition what you notice, who you attract, and how you interpret events. And once you become aware of that, everything shifts. The power lies in observation. Try this. Every hour, pause and ask, what am I feeling right now? Not to judge or fix, just to notice. Over time, you'll see patterns, and with that awareness comes choice. There's also a trick taught by Bashar, the excitement anchor. Anytime you feel that unmistakable buzz, that pull towards something that lights you up, follow it, no matter how small. Maybe it's a song, a creative idea, a conversation. That feeling is a doorway. Every time you walk through it, you align more closely with the version of you who lives in flow. And that brings us to something even bigger. If your emotional frequency can change your personal experience, what happens when communities begin to align on a higher level? What if groups of people started resonating at the level of empathy, joy, inspiration? Could that ripple shift neighborhoods, cities, and even the world? Ancient cultures would say yes. They didn't view reality as fixed. They saw it as responsive, like water. What you pour into it, through feelings, thoughts, and actions, changes its current. So instead of reacting to the day, you begin to influence it. Modern science is confirming what spiritual traditions have always whispered. Intention carries energy. Emotion is not passive, it is creative. Every feeling is a frequency, and every frequency calls reality into form. So the real question becomes, are you choosing what you send out, or are you letting the world decide for you? For centuries, two worlds stood apart, one rooted in empirical observation, the other in intuitive insight. One measured what could be seen, the other trusted what could be felt. But that separation is fading. A fusion is unfolding, where logic and spirit are no longer at odds, but allies in understanding existence. Today's technology is beginning to validate what ancient systems claimed for millennia, that the human being is not just flesh and thought, but a field, constantly shifting, responding, and communicating with the energies around it. Devices now read what mystics once sensed. Tools once imagined are now real. Wearables can track your nervous system's rhythm. Sensors pick up emotional patterns. Algorithms can suggest tones or colors to restore inner calm. What once required years of meditative discipline can now be supported by intelligent systems, designed to guide and harmonize. But this isn't replacing wisdom, it's translating it. The emerging field of vibrational science bridges these two realities. Hospitals are integrating architecture based on harmony, not just for comfort, but because design itself can reduce stress and improve recovery. Circular rooms, natural materials, subtle acoustic patterns, they affect the subconscious. Healing is no longer confined to medicine. It's being built into the walls. This mirrors the design of ancient temples, where sound, shape, and sacred space work together to support transformation. From the precise acoustics of pyramids to the symmetry of mandalas, everything had purpose. Now, modern buildings are echoing that knowledge, not out of nostalgia but because it works. What's becoming clear is that reality itself is participatory. You are not an observer on the sidelines. Every choice, every mood, every thought sends out ripples, subtle but measurable. You're not just in the world, you're shaping it moment by moment. And with this understanding comes a shift in responsibility. You begin to realize that managing your energy isn't just for personal peace. It's part of collective evolution. Every frequency you emit affects the field we all share. Healing, then, is no longer about isolating symptoms or fixing parts. It's about coherence, about tuning all aspects of self, physical, mental, emotional, energetic, to a state that resonates with life's natural rhythm. The ancients called it harmony. Today we might call it alignment, regulation, or resonance, but the principle is the same. When you're in tune, reality flows. When you're out of tune, resistance builds. So the invitation is this: not just to explore the new tools, but to remember the old truths. To step into a way of living where awareness replaces automation and where the invisible becomes as important as the physical. In this new paradigm, you are both the instrument and the player, and the music you create matters more than ever.